empty glass.
Woo! Welcome to Death Curse Society, guys. It's time for another episode. I'm your host, Red Crank. I got the Colonel, and I got Zigzag with me.
Woo! What? I got an earthquake going on over here.
We got a lot to talk about in this episode, though. We're going to be later on covering Fantasy Island, Camp Coldbrook. We got a couple of reviews on that for you. We're going to look at the new trailer for The Hunt, which is finally going to be released. Wonder if that was a marketing plan, like Zag said a while back. We're going to talk briefly about the Friday the 13th lawsuit. We got a little bit more information from that, from the latest oral arguments to discuss with you. And then I'm going to recap Monsters of Horror in Tulsa that I just visited last weekend. It was a lot of fun. Going to show you a few things from there. But first, before we get into any of that good stuff, make sure to hit that subscribe button, follow us on all the social media, and let's go camp.
You're going to Camp Blood, ain't you? You'll never come back again. It's got a death curse.
For Let's Go Camping this time around, we just checked out the new movie on video on demand, VFW, from Fangoria Magazine and Voltage Pictures. Not necessarily sure it's horror, but goddamn, they brought the gore. Zigzag, you want to start out with this one?
All right, Fango, that's 2 for 2, baby. Satanic Panic, and now we have VFW. He's right, it's not really a horror movie, but these drug-addicted fools that are busting in and going for the deaths and trying to kill everybody could have just as easily been zombies or space aliens or subterranean creatures. It didn't matter. That wasn't the point. They just brought the gore in buckets. There was lots of good effects. It was really cool seeing, and I didn't realize it till late in the movie, that was old Ike from Tombstone playing Freddy behind the bar and everything. I was like, holy shit, there he is. So there's another reason I like this guy. He's that versatile. When I went and looked at his back work, I could see, there's lots of roles he's played that I didn't even know it was fucking him. But yeah, man, VFW, totally enjoyable. It's an hour and a half long, and there's not much to it. The guys, they're at a VFW getting hammered. All they want to do is get to the titty bar. Superb joke about toothpicks in here. Don't miss it. I don't know. They set the tone right away. Like a drug addict breaks into the lair and gets a machete right between the eyes. It's great. They don't hold back on the blood. You're going to love it. And it's great seeing these guys like George Wendt. The cat from fucking The Karate Kid, the sensei, the bad sensei. He's in this motherfucker. Fucking Luther. He's Luther in 48 Hours. He's Luther in the fucking Warriors. And here he's Doug. He's a great character. The villain's a little light. I didn't think the villain was that much of a heavy or believable as the heavy, but it's not really about him. It's your classic setup, man. The guys are holding up in the VFW hall while wave after wave of stoned assholes are just trying to bust their way in and kill them because they're promised more fucking drugs on the other end. Colonel, go ahead and let him go, man. Tell him the joy that is VFW, baby.
Easily the best hour and a half I spent watching a movie this year. Blood galore. The acting was fantastic. Like, you really felt for this group of veterans. Just telling backstories about Nam and talking about, I remember the mud and talking about all the different mud these different veterans went through. That was a great speech. William Sadler, probably my favorite performance of his in years, did a fantastic job. And like Zach said, it could have been zombies, but these drug addicts looked like zombies. Overall, it was a fun watch. I highly suggest it. Fucking $7 on Vudu. You can't go wrong. Watch this film. You'll not be disappointed.
I agree, guys. It's a fun fucking movie. That's all it boils down to. It's very reminiscent of Assault on Precinct 13. There's another couple of movies that it's kind of similar to, but it's got its own vibe with it, with the twist of it being a VFW deal.
Something I forgot to mention that is obvious and prominent throughout the movie is the Carpenter-esque soundtrack that rolls in. It's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
I noticed that, too. Just the old synthesizer and the long notes. Very Carpenter-esque kind of film. The cast, they just work well together, like we kind of predicted. But Stephen Lang, Fred Williamson, William Sadler, George Wendt. I can't believe George Wendt just all of a sudden makes an appearance out of nowhere, and he's doing the same fucking thing he did in the 80s, sitting at the end of a bar.
How come you and Vera never had any kids?
I can't, Coach.
Gee, I'm sorry, Norm.
I look at Vera. I just can't.
I love it. Martin Kove and David Patrick Kelly. David Patrick Kelly was also an actor in Twin Peaks, which is a big thing of mine. So to see him come back all of a sudden was just a nice little bonus for me. That was a brotherhood that they put together. You got their relationships and you got their backstories like you guys were talking about. It immediately sets up your feeling for these people. And even when the girl comes rushing in that she's stolen the drugs from the drug lord across the street, basically, they immediately turn into, all right, we're fortifying this bitch and we're holding up in here until daylight comes or whatever. I also like Tom Williamson as the younger veteran that's coming back from his first tour of duty. And he stops by the VFW, unluckily, and he even makes a joke about that later. He was like, man, I wish I didn't need a beer earlier, or something like that. I thought that was good. He did well in his role. And then another one that didn't really say much, but Gutter, the kind of right-hand girl of the drug lord, is an actress that I really grew to love several years ago from Friday Night Lights, Dora Madison Burge. She was kind of a late entry in Friday Night Lights, but when she came into that show, she fucking just stole the show. Her emotional performances were just superb. And unfortunately, she didn't have a whole lot to do in this one, but it was good to see her. If you had to nitpick something about this movie, what did you not like about it, Colonel?
I'm going to go with the cinematography. Certain parts during the film, honestly, it just seemed a little too dark, where you couldn't see what was going on. Other aspects, you could tell it was definitely, like I said, John Carpenter-esque. You know how, like, say, Escape from New York, some scenes, you got that real green hue over everything. Well, this one, they tried to get red and blue, and it didn't quite work, and just shit just kind of got lost in the background. And the villains, other than the big fucking guy, I didn't find any of them particularly scary. The main villain, he just seemed like a millennial douche, and that chick looked hot as fuck, but like I said, she didn't say anything, so I really couldn't go towards her one way or the other. I'm like, she looks hot. That's about as far as I got with her. I'm a pig. I'm sorry.
There's no lights for half the movie. The power is knocked out in this area, this dilapidated town they're in. They kind of disguise a lot of the gore this way, too. Just not as, it's not right like in your face like a Fulci would be. That's what I would nitpick about it. Just, it's a bit dark, but, it's just hard to knock it. It's so entertaining and it moves so quick. It's just a quick hour and a half. You're in and out and it jumps right into it. There's not much setup.
It dives right in. I mean, you see them, waking up in the truck, basically, and going into the bar. You also have the drug dealer that lures this girl off of a rooftop to her death by throwing drugs down there, and she wants to high so bad she just jumps down after him. That was like the fakest falling death, though, I've ever seen, though. That was pretty rough.
Sorry, Brook. That's wonderful.
Whoa! Oh, Frank. Everyone should have a friend like you.
I mean, you could tell that was just a mannequin or whatever that just filled with blood. That was pretty rough. You mentioned that they seem to cut away a little bit to minimize a little bit. Maybe there's a director's cut that has some of that later on that we'll get on Blu-ray or DVD maybe.
See, in this day and age, I don't see any reason to cut anything out anymore. You're not going through the theater this way. You can do what you want.
This one did get released in theaters, but it was a small run.
Keep an eye out for VFW Uncut.
Right. That's what I'm looking forward to. The nitpick I would have, and you guys have actually already mentioned it, is the fact that the main bad guy, did not really live up to his bad guy potential. He was one of those bad guys that just basically dispatches his team to do all his dirty work, which I kind of dig that, and I see that in a lot of movies, and I get that. But the guy just did not have the right look to me. His acting was fine. It's just, I thought the role, the way it was portrayed, was just wrong. And I couldn't really put a pin on what exactly bothered me about it, but there was something just wrong with it.
The way he looked, the way he acted, to me, reminded me of like some independent wrestler, some wrestler on an independent scene that tries to be edgy. It sounded like he was cutting promos more than he was acting. Even with his look, the leather jacket with studs and no shirt, he did nothing for me.
They should have had the big bald guy should have been the baddie. The big baddie would have been more believable to me.
That was a bad motherfucker, man. Like, he was cool.
Not everybody makes it out of this movie, which you should expect, but with a crew, an acting crew like this, you almost halfway expect them all to make it through. But no, you get some whacks, and you get some real quick.
Poor Norm, he didn't last very long, did he?
Kind of what I was leading to without saying that, but yeah. Don't be the first one to volunteer to go out and get your truck started. Just a bad idea. I'm going to leave it at that. You guys ready to rank this? Colonel, how about you? Rate it for us.
Like I said before, this is the best movie of 2020 so far. That being said, I'm going to give this a 7.5. It was a fun movie. I said, love the gore. I just really don't see a whole lot of rewatch value to this, or the fact I might not even buy it unless I do get an unrated version.
Totally agree. Well worth the view. You know, do you need to see it again? Yeah, probably not. But it's super entertaining, well crafted for what it is, and it's a 7.5.
I would stick it with an 8. I actually really enjoyed this movie. Like you guys said, though, is it something that deserves multiple viewings? I don't know for sure, not necessarily for me. The thing that really gets me to watch movies multiple times anymore is introducing it to somebody else. In that respect, I might get this because I know a lot of people are not going to hear about this, especially outside of the horror genre and outside of Fangoria fans. Not a lot of people are going to hear about this, but if I have somebody over on the rare occasion that someone comes to my house, I live like a hermit. I try to avoid people as much as possible. I might be like, hey, have you seen this movie VFW? Let's slide this bitch in and check this out. You might enjoy it. I'm going to stick it with an 8. I enjoyed it. The acting was top notch, except for one major character, I guess. They did minimize his time on screen, too. I mean, he wasn't there a whole lot. His role really didn't have that much weight or meaning to it. But.
I mean, it kind of fizzes out, you know, down the end, too. It, like, doesn't go out with a bang at all, really.
It's a little more like a thud.
That's VFW, guys. It is available on demand right now, so look it up and give it a watch. It's worth it, we would say. Way to go, Fangoria. That's going to wrap it up for Let's Go Camping. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stick around.
I'm gonna go now.
You've got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
Wondershare Filmora is a user-friendly, easy-to-use video editing software which contains hundreds of special effects for video that allows you to easily create a unique visual effect. Head to www.wondershare.net and get started editing now.
The Death Curse Society has just become an associate producer on the film.
Yes.
Bravo! Bravo! Death Curse Society, guys, is so awesome. I met the guys, all three of the guys, at Indianapolis last year for HorrorHound. And I met those dudes, and I gotta tell you, like, I hung out with them, we took pictures, I signed some stuff, they gave me a t-shirt. It was awesome. They are awesome guys. So super cool. I am so glad to have them on board this campaign and also on board the film. And now they are going to be IMDb credited as producers on this movie.
Hi, this is Danielle Harris, and you're watching Death Curse Society.
Welcome back to Death Curse Society, gang. We got a lot to talk about in our next segment, but that's why we call it Stories Around the Campfire.
I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm going to give it to you straight about Jason.
Hey, come back, come back!
All right, first up on Stories Around the Campfire, we're going to talk about the very disappointing Fantasy Island in theaters now. Oh, I'm sorry. It's called Blumhouse's Fantasy Island. They changed the title just a little bit. Whew. Colonel, I'll let you start with this one.
If you haven't seen it yet, spoiler alert, because I'm going to spoil the shit out of this movie for you to an extent. 2 thoughts. 1, fucking terrible. Don't watch it. 2, a little disappointed the island did not catch fire or burn down, but my argument still exists because the main villain said this bitch who wanted to kill everybody as her fantasy because she had one date with a guy. Guess what? It's because he died in a fucking fire in an apartment complex. They're all tied too. So yes, Blumhouse, thank you for keeping my shitty fucking joke going strong in one way or the other. That's the only thing I can thank you for. Other than that, fuck you. Stop making these shit films. I swear to God, everything else you make this year is going to be fucking shit. So we get Halloween Kills, and I guarantee at this point, I have such little faith in your production company, you're going to fucking ruin that shit too.
I'm starting to worry about Halloween Kills, actually. I know he keeps saying that, oh, it's a big movie, it's got a large canvas and blah, blah, blah. What you're doing now and over the last 6 months is really making me question what the fuck is going on with Halloween Kills. Ziggy, shit on Fantasy Island for us.
It's not scary. The fantasies are blah, and you don't care. They get what they want down to the last detail, and then the ominous warning you can't miss comes along, and the shit starts going haywire for all of them. But then, the fucking twist at the end, by the time you get to it, you don't care. You don't give a fuck that this bitch went on a date, got stood up because she got bullied when she was younger, and then she has no self-esteem. It's just terrible, and you don't care. You want the island to burn down. You're rooting for it this time. Blumhouse, opportunity missed. Just saying, man.
Good point.
It is sad watching the once great. You couldn't think of knocking Blumhouse and what they were doing. Boy, oh boy, how many fucking shitballs in a row do we have to allow before we start to say, you're now Lionsgate, and there's the door. I'm sorry.
Lionsgate of like the, late 80s, mid 90s?
Well, yeah. They got to they took horror on and they were the kings for a minute, and then they were out too. They lost. They started releasing everything, saying the next scariest movie of all time. It's like they keep doing with this shit. And here now we bastardized a 70s, 80s TV show. And man, the tattoo joke, come on, man.
It took them too fucking long to get to the tattoo joke.
And that was it?
At what point in the movie would that even have been funny, though? Like, it's not funny at all.
Not funny!
That was the entire reason for the movie right there, was that last line. And that the setup went throughout the movie, but that last line from that one fucking guy is the entire reason.
That's not even a tip of the hat to the real tattoo. It's giving him the finger. It's just fucking stupid. But that fits the tone of this whole movie. It missed on every mark, every way, every aspect that we would grade a normal horror film. Zeros across the board. 0.0.
0.0.
All right, I'll break this down for you real simply. Story, shit. Cinematography, shit. Acting, shit. Ending, shit. This movie, shit. Fantasy Island, avoid it at all costs if you can. Like Colonel said, the fantasy is when the movie is over and you can fucking leave a theater because you've wasted 90 minutes of your time in there.
I'm telling you, the best thing about this experience was the popcorn.
I feel like at one point they tried to do kind of what Midsommar did and take horror and put it into the light, and they failed miserably with that. The island itself is a beautiful island, but there's only like 2 or 3 shots of its beauty in the entire thing. Missed the boat on that. Ziggy, you said something earlier about this is not horror. Explain more further about that.
There's no darkness to it. I don't know. Do you want to call the black bloody waters supernatural? I guess. It's very loose, though. There's nothing that makes your skin crawl. There's nothing that makes your hair stand up. There's none of that. That's why it doesn't fit. This is a drama. I can't even say a dark drama. This is a thriller. And it's light. It's light in the lightest light. Light, diet, whatever you want to call it. It's just homogenized. Terrible, man. It's light on everything. They just didn't go all out in any aspect of it that you would expect in a horror film.
I think some of the episodes of the original Fantasy Island were actually scarier than what this movie is.
100%.
Especially if you have a fear of midgets, because there's a midget in the TV show. And here's why Blumhouse keeps doing this. They make money. For some fucking reason, their marketing is on point in some distinctions. True horror fans look at their trailers and look at their marketing and say, no, fuck you. We're not going to fall for this again. We have to watch it. For you guys, we have to go and sit through some of this shit. And we understand that. But their marketing is definitely geared towards the lower end of the scale, if you know what I mean. Now, granted, this was also released on Valentine's Day, so they've got a little bit of an extra push there, and that helped them because of the date movie. But the fact that Blumhouse can make movies like this for $5 million or less normally, and then go on to gross, I think it's at least made $20 million already in the weekend. It makes a profit, so why not keep churning out shit like this? I keep imploring, and I've said this before, I keep imploring Jason Blum to just please, do like a Project Greenlight kind of thing. Open your studio up to submissions from the world and let somebody submit an original script idea rather than just hiring a writer to do these shit remakes. And let's put some new horror out in the world. You might find the next Art the Clown, or you might be able to continue another franchise like you are doing with Halloween in a different way. It may not be like one of the big 3 franchises. Somehow get some new ideas, get some original thoughts. Don't just be looking back at old copies of your grandmother's TV guide and going, oh yeah, that would make a good horror movie. No, it's a bad idea, and you will get mucho more respect for it if you do. Let's rate it, guys. Ziggy, you start with this one.
Again, since we don't give zeros here, Fantasy Island will be joining the turning as the second recipient of a 1 from me. By the way, Jason Blum, Dynasty. Maybe you could work something out with that, eh? Get something going, huh?
If that happens, I hope Karens all over the world call Jason Blum's office and ask to speak to a manager.
For Michael Rooker's hair, I'm going to give it a 2 because that's worth 2 points.
Michael Rooker and even Kim Coates couldn't save this movie. I mean, the little bit that they were in it. I'm giving it a 1, too. That's all there is to say. Fantasy Island, it's in theaters now. Don't go see it. Please stop giving this Blumhouse money just because of their shitty capitalistic marketing bullshit. Please.
I forgot. They already did a Dynasty fucking horror movie. It's called The Walking Dead.
Last up, a review for Camp Coldbrook, which finally came out. It's been floating around the film festival circuit for a little while. Finally has been released on video on demand. You can find it online. Check it out. Starring Chad Michael Murray and Danielle Harris. So, Colonel, give us your thoughts on Camp Coldbrook.
Well, not nearly as bad as Fantasy Island. I would have been perfectly happy if you stayed on the festival circuit. Was not an enjoyable movie. Granted, I will give them credit. At times, they did a great job with the atmosphere where you kind of was like, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen. It just wasn't a good movie. I don't know what to tell you. I have one complaint. The whole movie. There you go. I said it. Still better than Fantasy Island, though.
Unfortunately, I wholeheartedly agree with the Colonel on this one. It just did not deliver. This is Ghost Adventures meets the Blair Witch Project, and it's weak. It's Kool-Aid with 1/3 the flavor. It's hot chocolate without the sugar. It's just not good. It's very plain, and the things they do give you, it's just the very lightest form of creepy, and it ain't enough to carry this into what they're trying to make it, a ghost story. It's just not executed well. Nice seeing Danielle Harris. She's hot as always.
And she stole our line.
Shit, I'm out of here.
She stole our line. Are we kidding? She can do whatever she wants.
She can steal lines from me any day of the week. Well, I just think it's funny because a few episodes ago when we first started talking about this movie and I was professing my love to the lovely Miss Harris, I think it was Colonel that said, hey, we don't want her to say, fuck this shit, I'm out. You know, if she sees us coming at a convention or something like that. Sure enough, she does.
This is the feeling you're going to be saying upon viewing this movie, unfortunately. Fuck this shit, I'm out. It just does not deliver. It's a great idea, and they just half-assed it all the way. I mean, like I said, it looks okay. It's a scary campground, but the ghosts all suck. The witch, whatever it is, it sucks. Everything that they do, there's nothing to it.
Yeah, the witch has some huge tits, though. God damn.
Yeah.
Well, that she does. Bodacious tatas. But it's not enough.
Okay, I'm not going to be as harsh on it, and it might be because of my future ex-wife behind me. There was something about this I kind of enjoyed. I don't know if it was just the campy vibe of it. Campy. Chad Michael Murray and Danielle Harris, and even Michael Eric Reed, those 3 actors kind of played well off of each other. Now, Michael Eric Reed, he plays like probably the laziest employee I've ever seen in my life, who still has a job anyway. This guy's been caught falling asleep before, and he falls asleep in this and misses something. How the fuck does this guy still have a job? A nice little cameo from Courtney Gaines. We haven't seen him in much lately, and he just pops in out of nowhere, and he's the TV executive. I kind of dug that. The storyline is basically this. A Ghost Adventures style crew has one last chance. He's the leader of it, Chad Michael Murray, has convinced this TV executive to give him one more chance to prove that the show is worth its weight. And he guarantees that there's going to be definitive proof in this next episode that they're getting ready to film. The team goes to Oklahoma and visits this supposedly haunted campground where years ago a witch or a woman who was accused of using witchcraft of some way had poisoned a bunch of kids and then drowned them. I liked most of the story. It wasn't necessarily an original story because they kept kind of picking little pieces from other films and even books and stuff like that and then combined it. It was like a casserole. of movies all combined into one and then presented as Camp Coldbrook. One thing that drove me nuts about the entire fucking movie, though, was every time they were like, all right, I'm going to go off and check out this cabin there. They were never rolling. They never rolled their video cameras except for like after something happened. And then they're like, oh, maybe I should be recording this. This is your fucking job, people. It's what you're paid to do while you're visiting these camps. What is going on?
It's exactly that. Everything is a miss on it. And there's a twist on this one, too, and it connects several of the characters into a reason why they're all fucking there. And how dare you let them go there when you knew this was going to happen to the sheriff and all this shit. Fuck that, man. It's weak. No flavor. No taste. January, February. Suck it, man. One good movie out of the batch so far. One, and it's not even really a horror movie.
But that's always what January and February is. That's where the dumps come from studios. They're just trying to get these off their schedule and off their plate so they can focus on new projects. All right, let's rate it. Ziggy.
3.
No explanation, just a number. All right, Colonel.
So I gave Fantasy Island a 2 based on Michael Rooker's hair alone. Camp Coldbrook, I'm going to give it a 2.5 just because I'm green with envy for the people that spent 4 weeks down in here, so I'm making this shitty movie.
Oh, man, if I could have been on location. Shit, I live in Oklahoma. I could have been on location stalking her. Damn it. Like I said, I didn't mind this movie as much as you guys did. I thought it was a nice little throwback, nice little campy entry in the horror genre. It's been a while since we've had, like, a camp-style horror film. This one I kind of dug. I'm going to give it a 6. Alrighty, gang. Next up on Stories Around the Campfire, we kind of halfway predicted this, at least Zigzag did a few months ago, but The Hunt is coming back to theaters in March 13th. Friday the 13th, Blumhouse is finally going to release a movie they ripped off the shelves back in, what, September, October of last year? Who fucking cares? Here's a new trailer. Check it out.
What is happening? What is all of this?
Did you see that article? Every year, these liberal elites kidnap a bunch of normal folks like us and hunt us for sport.
The last I heard, free speech still exists.
Don't First Amendment me.
It wasn't real.
Everybody get out of here!
We were joking.
There's been a killing spree. You gotta come here right now.
You actually believed we were hunting human beings for sport. But you are.
We have an opportunity here to teach these people. These are not real people. They're actors.
I'm playing an Arab refugee, but I identify as white. I think that's problematic too, in some way.
You wanted it to be real, so you decided it was.
What kind of sick people would even think of something like that?
White people. We're the worst.
So that's the trailer for The Hunt, which comes out March 13th from Blumhouse Pictures. I know just a few minutes ago we were saying, please come up with an original idea. Okay, well, there's almost an original idea, but this one struck a nerve a few months ago. Blumhouse decided to pull it from the release schedule, and that got them to be able to say now the most talked about movie of the year that no one has seen yet. I don't know. I think more people were talking about Ghostbusters personally, that no one's seen that yet. But it appears that the story here is a group of liberal elites are kidnapping and entrapping a bunch of conservative folks and then hunting them for sport. There seems to be a whole bunch of people that are in on the secret that are trying to help keep them within these boundaries out in the woods. But then there are also people that don't know exactly what's going on that are trying to help get the escapees out somehow. Kind of a surviving the game kind of clone, it looks like to me, but a little bit different, a little bit of a different twist, and especially in a political climate that we're in right now. This is one of those love it or hate it kind of movies. Colonel, you want to jump in on this?
You know, this movie's going to come out and make a fucking killing because controversy sells. Honestly, they should have released this movie on fucking on demand and straight to Blu-ray as soon as they pulled it from the theaters. I have no desire to see this fucking movie. You just mentioned it yourself. I'd rather watch Surviving the Game for the 30th fucking time than watching this movie for the first time. And what killed me the most is like the quote from the trailer you guys just watched. What kind of people would do this? Well, white people, we're the worst. Come on. Yeah, I get the joke, but at the same time, it's a little played out. It's like, oh, that's the joke you're going to throw in the trailer. It's the best one you got.
Hopefully it's not the best one they got. This does seem to be more of a tongue-in-cheek satire than it does really a horror film.
That's the problem here. It's satire, and too many people out there that just won't get it. On either side, whoever the fuck you support blindly, they're capitalizing on self-made controversy. Liberals, if this were the shoe were on the other foot, would probably be freaking out quite a bit more than the conservatives are based on the subject matter. But this isn't a real thing, so that's where we got to draw the line. You know, this is art, and that's where I was torn with it, but I still welcome them to make this film as their right. Do I support it or believe in anything they're talking about? No, I think it's stupid. I think it's going to create more problems. I'm not interested in seeing this movie. Hopefully it doesn't make too much of a fucking mess just based on the airheads that are going to watch it and go, that's how I feel. Go kill some people now. Yeah, I don't like them. Go kill them. You got too many morons out there as it is. This is a bad idea. A lot of people will take their Facebook headline, whatever it says about it, good or bad, and run with it, and that's the unfortunate thing.
Well, and a lot of people will do that without even seeing the movie.
That's what I'm saying.
Politics aside, playing it straight down the middle here. I can't wait until we're out of this political climate, whatever we're going through, shit gets back to somewhat normal. This is just a movie I don't want to see.
I wouldn't want to see it the other way either, though. I don't want to see conservatives hunting fucking liberals either. That does not interest me at all.
I got an off-topic question for you guys. What are some other political satires that you've seen in the past that you did enjoy? Zigzag?
I don't know if it's political satire, but the Dead Zone comes to mind because we had Christopher Walken actually taking down a standing president because he saw in his vision that this guy was going to end the world. It's more fantasy, but that's the kind of political influence or whatever, or storytelling that I enjoy in a horror movie.
That's a good one, actually. I hadn't thought about that when I asked the question. And Stephen King has come out in the last few years. He's been asked if he feels like he kind of predicted the future with the current president we have in now, and so many similarities in the character in the Dead Zone.
Well, if we see anybody walking around Congress with missing their hand or anything for the scans or an eyeball or something, you got something. I'll talk to you.
I'll wait. I'll wait until I see that. They're not going to show that on MSNBC. Colonel, how about you? Any political satires that stuck out in your mind?
I fucking love Borat, and you got assholes on both sides of the fence on that one. Political loosely, but I mean, at least he does make fun of some senators.
Sacha Baron Cohen has always kind of, not necessarily attacks, but approaches political issues from a very skewed perspective, and I can appreciate that, definitely. The movie I'm going to mention is one of those movies that has huge star power, but not many people have ever seen it. It's a movie from the 90s called Wag the Dog. Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro, Woody Harrelson has a small role, Anne Heche when she was kind of big back in the 90s, and written by David Mamet, who was one of my favorite playwrights and screenwriters also. And it tells the tale of a president that is about to be embroiled in a controversy, kind of similar to the Monica Lewinsky thing. And they made this movie before all of that kind of brouhaha came up with Bill Clinton. So they hire a fixer to come in and help fix this. And the fixer ends up hiring a Hollywood producer to produce a war to take attention away from the controversy and get everyone's eyes on something else. So, you know, like, here's a shiny object. Don't pay attention to anything over here. And the way it's written and the way it's played out, it's just a beautiful piece of work. So funny. It's great. So check it out. Next up on Stories Around the Campfire, we talked a little bit about it last episode, but we've got some new information now. The Second Circuit Court of New York had released the oral arguments between Cunningham versus Miller in the Friday the 13th lawsuit. We actually got a copy of the audio, and we have provided it to you guys on YouTube in a special video where we use some of Larry Zerner's analysis along with the video and kind of break down what they're talking about in it. It is a whole lot of legal mumbo-jumbo that if you're just a lay person like us, you might not necessarily understand it all, but with the breakdown and the explanation from Larry Zerner, that kind of helps out a lot. I did listen to the whole thing. I thought it was enjoyable. Ziggy, you seem to have checked it out. What'd you think?
Yeah, it's exactly what we've been reporting to you in layman's terms. You know, Sean Cunningham is a greedy fuck, now grasping at straws, trying to, you know, pay off the right people to stretch this out as long as possible. I don't know if he's trying to wait for Victor Miller's death or something. It looks to me and it sounds to me he's going to lose. Victor Miller is going to get awarded what he's deserved. That is good. That's what we want. That is what is right. Who knows what this fucking greedy bastard is going to pull up his sleeve between now and June, you know what I mean? I won't be surprised one bit if it's delayed even more, another 6 months, another year, because he pulled out some other napkin out of his ass to say, oh, look at this, we gotta look at this now. I'm hopeful, but as it stands, we got the arguments in the hands of the people that are going to ultimately make that decision. So let's hope they stay uncorrupted and do the right thing.
You have a very low outlook of the government in general, don't you?
I'm just, you know, I guess I've seen too much in my eyes in my old age here, but it's just, yeah, man, it's boiling over a little bit. You know, so you pay your dues so long, and then you see other people getting fucked, man. You feel it, man. You want to stand up for them. That's all. That's where I'm at. Okay. I'm an ally. I'm standing up for the fucking people getting fucked here, man.
It's a great video. I suggest you watch it. If you haven't, I'm not one to hear all this legal jargon. Break it down bullet points for me. That's all I fucking need. Zag pretty much summed it up. They went to court, presented the arguments, and a few months, and hopefully we get a judgment on the case. But like Zag said, I'm sure Cunningham's going to break out a cashier's check he wrote in 1979 to Victor Miller so he can get Denny's for breakfast or something like that, and say, hey, I already paid him some of it. You know, it is what it is. Get your shit together. Get this fucking settled. Do not let my favorite horror franchise fucking die, because that's what you're doing. You are killing Jason for real.
What I think would be funny, we should get a decision in either late May, mid-June, somewhere in that time frame, so about 3 months or so from now. What I think would be just hysterical is if, as soon as that judgment is handed down, and assuming Victor Miller does get to retain some of his rights back the way he wants them, I think it'd be just great if he was just like, all right, pulls out this box and is like, all right, I got like 12 scripts ready to go. Who wants to make a fucking movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've already got a production company set up for this. All we got to do is just start moving. It's go time. And,
casting. Here we go.
Right. I think that would be just gorgeous. I mean, I'd like to see where Victor Miller would take that original storyline, because he didn't ever really like the idea of Jason coming back in the sequels. Maybe he had something completely different that we were going to see.
Yeah, but Victor, hey man, Victor, we're rooting for you, baby. But man, don't get too nuts here, man. A lot of people out here are very fond of the Jason character in the hockey mask. It must be noted that if this could end as a split to where Miller owns Pamela Voorhees, Jason as a child, but Miller can't touch anything with a hockey mask or an adult Jason, where Cunningham would have control.
Right.
I don't really know. I mean, it's crazy. It could go that way, but you know, I'm just saying to Miller, give us your vision, man. But just, you know what I mean? It better be something fucking spectacular if it's gonna try to take the place of our hulking hockey masked villain.
It could even boil down to the idea that, you know, Sean Cunningham retains the name Friday the 13th. Victor Miller retains the name Jason Voorhees, but they can't go together until they come to some kind of mutual agreement, which could be even years further down the road. So if that happens, what do we do until then?
What a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, this is what kills me about this. Here we are debating what's going to happen with arguably probably all three of our favorite horror franchise. We fucking love this shit. Over two guys, I will say Miller deserves every fucking dime he's due. But there's two guys arguing they hate the fucking hockey mask. That's what's holding it up. Two guys don't even give a shit. Cunningham wants to keep all the money. Miller just wants what he's owed.
This is when a new kind of justice might be handy to have around, where the judges in the case just say, you know what? Fuck you guys. Neither one of you gets any rights to it. We're going to give it to this group over here that loves the franchise, knows what they want to do with it. And you know what? You'll get 20% of whatever they make, and you'll get 20% of whatever they make. The rest is theirs. Fuck you. Go home and die.
I mean, what a nightmare this would be if it comes down to proof that Sean Cunningham acquired the rights to the film and the writings of Friday the 13th over a Moons Over My Hammy at a fucking Denny's.
Even big names want to keep the movies going. Like LeBron James wants to produce a new Friday the 13th movie. Kane Hodder still wants to play Jason. Tom McLaughlin has a sequel to his Part 6 movie. Tom Matthews has obviously expressed interest in returning as Tommy Jarvis. All these characters are still around, and a lot of the final girls are still around and would be able to come back and do some kind of movie if they wanted to. We got to deal with all this wading through the red tape bullshit before we figure something out. So hopefully by June of this year, we will know something concrete and we will be able to tell you, look, it's time. Get ready. Some studio's about to announce something before the end of the year that they are moving forward on a Friday the 13th movie. Hopefully.
And that shit would make fucking bank.
Yes.
I think it outdo Halloween.
Just Blumhouse, please stay away from this. Don't try to fuck with this, please.
Yeah.
Please.
He did mention he'd like to do it after Halloween.
I'm aware of it. I'd rather see it in LeBron James's hands than fucking Blumhouse right now.
Haven't seen too many fires in Friday the 13th yet. Just saying.
God damn it. We're moving on. Last up on Stories Around the Campfire. Recently, I got a chance to check out a new con over in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Monsters of Horror was at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Let's just say this first year was very, very small. I think there were 18 vendors, including celebrity guests. I saw one panel discussion that had no PA system. The actors and the guests were basically yelling over a crowd as best they could. Any questions from the audience had to be repeated 2 or 3 times to get, it was like telephone. You had to play telephone to get the question to the stage.
What'd they say?
Exactly. It wasn't a bad deal. Hopefully this one grows with some time. CJ Graham was one of the stars there. Lar Park Lincoln was there. I got a couple of autographs from them and chatted with them briefly. CJ Graham, I got to sign this little deal for me. I'll get a better picture up here for you guys later on. But I was able to grab this bad boy since Zigzag is our vinyl collector of the group. A little My Bloody Valentine vinyl record from, what's the company that does this? Waxwork?
Waxwork.
Yes.
Glorious.
I'm not even a comic guy, but these just kind of jumped off the shelf for me. The Halloween Part 3, a different story than the actual Part 3 that came out. Some Nightmare on Elm Street. So this was issues 1 and 2 from Marvel Magazine. It was 1988, it looks like. You could literally walk the room in 4 minutes. I mean, you do a lap and see everything. Maybe not see everything, but you could see every vendor.
You can't knock a small con starting out. I mean, the fact that they're willing to even get out and try to do this, man, hats off, thanks. As you know, we will do whatever we can to get your word out there and try to get people in your doors.
And I'll tell you what, Lar Park Lincoln and CJ Graham were both just fine people. I got to talk to both of them for a pretty good extended amount of time. It was a real open, friendly deal. Like I said, it was never very crowded. Our next convention we're going to is one of the granddaddies, though. HorrorHound in Cincinnati, March 20th through the 22nd. We're going to be there. All 3 of us are going to be there. Colonel, I know you want to talk about that.
HorrorHound Cincinnati, here we are again. This is the first time all 3 of us have been together. It's my hometown. It's probably one of the biggest horror hounds Cincinnati's had yet. We have Robert Englund, which is probably the biggest horror name on the list. With him also comes a Nightmare on Elm Street reunion. We're about to have a Candyman reunion. Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight reunion. John Carpenter's The Thing reunion. God, I wish I could pull Kurt Russell out of their ass. I know it's not going to happen, but what we got is still outstanding.
You did not mention Kane Hodder was recently added to the list of attendees, too, so that's a good one.
And, of course, the DCS infecting the entire showroom floor, fucking with all you people. So get ready for that, man. And, like I said, you want to stop and talk to us. You are fascinating and interesting. You might even get some swag off us. We got shirts. We got all kinds of stuff.
HorrorHound Cincinnati, get ready because the DCS is coming for you March 20th through the 22nd. We'll be there. We hope you guys will be there too. By the way, if you already have a DCS shirt, make sure to wear it to the con. Help us spread the love of the DCS throughout everywhere you go. And if you don't have a shirt, find one of us and maybe we'll have one for you. You never know. So we'll see you in Cincinnati. Woo! That's going to wrap it up for Stories Around the Campfire. But next, we're going to do something we haven't gotten to do in a while, and that's Let Me Axe You a Question.
Here's Johnny.
Every now and then on our social media accounts, we will ask you guys, the fans, if you have questions for us, and then we'll mention them on the show, and we'll try to answer them for you as best we can. Our first question this time around comes from R. Jones123 on Instagram. She asks, what horror movie are you most excited for in 2020? I have my ideas already. We'll go with Colonel first on this.
Ooh, okay, there's quite a few. There's two that are pretty close to the top. One being the Candyman, I guess, reboot or reimagining. The Candyman series is a very underrated series. I know everybody loves the first one, but no one ever talks about 2 and 3, and let's be honest, 3's not much to talk about. But the first two are fucking phenomenal. So I'm really looking forward to what we do that as a Monkey Paw production, which means it's produced by Peele, but remember, people, he's not directing this film. And the next one is kind of a toss-up between Halloween Kills and Terrifier 2. Based on what I've been seeing from Blumhouse since 2018's Halloween, Terrifier 2 edges just above it because I love Art the Clown. I think he is the new horror icon, this new generation that we've needed for a long time now. I think we can all agree with that. More blood, more gore. You have to top the scene, and hopefully some backstory. Like, let's actually have a story this time and make the naysayers be yaysayers.
How about you, Ziggy? What are you excited for?
Well, Colonel fucking stole all my thunder, but that's exactly the two, and I don't think anybody's going to get mad or blame anybody if these are the films that we name. Terrifier 2 and Halloween Kills are definitely at the top of my list. I can say, having attended the con a couple of weeks ago up here in Michigan, the Terrifier 2 panel, we did indeed learn that Art the Clown will be indeed a supernatural being from this point forward. We got that. And as far as the scene that Colonel mentioned, they said at least 3 attempts at topping the scene in Terrifier 1. That warrants enough of a view for me, just right there alone. That's all I needed to hear. Let's go. Terrifier 2, baby. We're funders on this. We backed it. Halloween Kills. As good as the 2018 film was, they're starting to scare me, as Crank mentioned. They're not having a good track record. They are declining. They are trending down. Remember Lionsgate? It is Halloween. It is Jamie Lee Curtis. And most of the people returning that survived the first time around, we got to try. I'm thinking these will be the 2 best horrors of 2020. That's what I'm into.
I'm a little worried about Halloween Kills because it seems like Blumhouse is dropping faster than, tourists on a Chinese cruise ship right now. It's rough to watch. Halloween Kills earlier in the year, last year, I was really excited for. Now, I'm not so much. But Candyman is definitely up there on my list. I want to see what Jordan Peele does to put a little breath of fresh air into this series. Also, man, ever since I saw the trailer, I'm interested in Spiral. I'm very curious as to what they're doing with that. Like we said when we first saw the trailer a couple weeks ago, we talked about how it has more of a darker tone to it, almost like a David Fincher's Seven kind of tone to it. So if Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson can pull that off, I'm game to definitely check it out. Terrifier 2, of course, is up there, and man, I know it's not really horror, but Ghostbusters, by God, the biggest movie of 2020 that I want to see. It's got some horror elements to it, but I know it's a comedy. I get it, blah, blah, blah. And I'll do it. I'll kiss a little ass right now. I'm anxious to see Hearts of Darkness, the making of The Final Friday, which comes out this October, that we're also all backing. So stay tuned for that. We're associate producers on that, baby. Woo! So I'm really anxious to see some footage from that and hopefully the whole movie in October. That's my list for 2020 right there. Our next question actually kind of covers a topic we've sort of talked about a little bit in this episode and even in the previous episode. Craig Dram on Twitter asked, with the release of The Lodge, this argument has come back, so I'll let you give your input. Some horror fans claim if something doesn't have outright scary, jump-in-your-seat elements, kind of similar to The Witch, Midsummer, The Lodge, etc., then it's not horror. What are your thoughts? Let's start with Zigzag on this one.
We all know what a fan I am of Ari Aster, but I still think what he does can be considered horror. A great example would be VFW, not necessarily horror, but still anything that's twisted or disturbing like that, that can be horror. I think the ones you mentioned there can mostly be called horror, and it's to each their own, too. I mean, perception is a huge part of this. Some people might find something disturbing and scary, and others might find it tame and stupid, like Midsommar.
Well, movies like Hereditary and Midsommar from Ari Aster that you mentioned don't really have a supernatural element or ghost or a monster or somebody that's been risen from the dead or a slasher. They've got real events that are going on that are kind of filled with this underlying dread and tension that makes you uncomfortable, and then something happens.
I like real life horror where it could happen. It's always a win for me, always. In that aspect, Midsommar is scary. There, I said it. But being who I am and the fan of the things I am in the aspects of horror, I don't like Midsommar as a horror film.
Now, I'm kind of on the same wavelength as Zag here. Let's use an example from our past. During this last summer, we covered Godzilla, King of Monsters. This is a debate amongst us. Like, is this truly a horror film? In my opinion, it wasn't. It was an action film, but it involved monsters, so I guess it would qualify as a horror film. I'm gonna say it's all about perception. Whatever brings fear, gives you feelings of fear, is a horror film. Simple as that. It may not meet my definition of it, but that's my own opinion. Like Zag, I'm more into like the zombie films, the slashers. Give me blood, guts, and fucking gore. But unlike Zag, I absolutely loved fucking Midsommar. Fucking loved it. I thought it was a good movie.
Daylight horror is hard to do.
It's all about perception. Everything's always been about perception.
As far as Ghostbusters go, I can't personally call this a horror movie or think it could be a horror movie. However, I do think it could be scary.
I have read reports that this is a scarier version than the 80s films. We'll see if it gets included in what we do later on down the road. I mean, like in this episode alone, I don't think Fantasy Island counts as a horror movie.
No.
I don't think VFW really counts as a horror movie.
No.
I really don't think The Hunt counts as a horror movie. But at least VFW was released by Fangoria Magazine, the magazine of horror. The Hunt and Fantasy Island both have Blumhouse behind them, which is the big horror production company right now. Currently.
Declining.
Until they Lionsgate themselves out of a job.
Remember, Lionsgate's coming back, though. Stop throwing them under the bus too much. They are back on the rise. They don't take a 15-year hiatus, but they're coming back.
You got to prove it.
As for me, I have not had a chance to see The Lodge yet because it's not showing in my theaters. It's showing about an hour and a half away. But I think I would enjoy this movie because I like movies that have that underlying sense of dread. Like, I love The Shining. I like Dr. Sleep. I liked Midsommar and Hereditary. I liked The Witch, Session 9, if you guys remember that, from Brad Anderson. That was probably one of my favorite movies of the early 2000s just because of how different it was and how twisted it was. It wasn't necessarily jump scare scary. The last 45 minutes of the end of the movie, you're on the edge of your seat like, what the fuck is going on? That's the kind of stuff I really like. I think that stuff is horror. Thanks for the questions. Always pay attention to our social media accounts and make sure if you see something that we're asking a question about, make sure to join us and jump in on the conversation because we like to talk on social media all the time. Guys, that's going to wrap it up for the show this time around. Again, thanks for the questions. Colonel, send them out.
If you're into editing or want to upgrade your editing program or even want to dabble in editing, wondershare.filmmore.com. Go there for all your editing needs. It's a great fucking program. It's so easy. Crank could do it.
Fuck you. Zigzag, tell them what's up.
You know what's up? The internet. It's everywhere. And you know what that means? So are we. DeathCurseSociety.com. That is the portal, baby. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. The hub for everything that gets our content right in front of your face the quickest. Get out there, hit subscribe, hit that fucking bell, man, so you know, and you be the first one to see what the Death Curse Society has got to drop on your face. Dig it!
And also, don't forget, if you want to support the show, Death Curse Society, we've got T-shirts available. We got the original logo tee. We've still got a few sizes left of those. We're limited quantities on those currently. And then we also have the new special Loomis, Death Has Come to Your Little Town tee. You can pick them up by sending $20 to paypal.me/zigzagisdcs. $20 for sizes small through extra large, and then $25 for anything bigger than that. That covers shipping and handling and everything. So include your payment, include your name, address, and what size you want in the message, and we'll get it out to you ASAP. Our next episode will be March 12th. right before Friday the 13th, and we'll be talking about The Invisible Man. Ooh.
Who said that?
The Invisible Man. For the Colonel and for Zigzag, this is Red Crank saying DCS out. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Woo!
What? Store, yeah, campfire. I don't.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know. I run out of shit to do when you I'm like.
Don't steal my line.
Well, you didn't say it, you asshole. It's too good not to say.
Fair enough.
I don't give this a 2.5 just because I'm green with envy. All those people got to sit next to Daniel Harris. Probably the 4 weeks they took to film the movie.
Okay, you're gonna have to redo that. I can't even hear the color green right now.
Well, it's coming again. Oh, HorrorHound, Cincinnati.
Let me tell you.
Oh shit! I did it again, didn't I?
What smells like cheese?
This dude. What am I doing in your mouth?